Bruce Willis experienced a devastating event in March 2022. He was found to have aphasia, a disorder that ruined his capacity to communicate verbally. However, that was just the start. His family disclosed a heartbreaking turn of events months later. Bruce had deteriorated. He now had frontotemporal dementia, a debilitating illness that impairs memory as well as speech. And now, his loved ones are learning how to say goodbye before he's even gone, as they silently get ready for the inevitable. Unlike his film characters, Bruce is not confronting the end of the world. It's something more gradual, harsher, and utterly destructive. He can no longer speak because of his condition. And even when someone speaks to Bruce, he just looks at them with a blank, glassy visage. Consider an actor who has dedicated his career to making people laugh so hard they can't speak. That was the core of his personality. However, he has now lost both of those things. Bruce's family members' emotions are being torn apart like paper in a shredder as a result of his forgetting everything and everyone. Emma, his wife, uploaded a video in August 2025. Millions of admirers were devastated by what she said in the video. Her agony was painted on her face, and her grief was depicted everywhere. This woman was going through some sort of loss. Even though her husband, the father of her children, was still living, it seemed as though he wasn't. Emma's voice wavered throughout the video as she talked about seeing him have trouble with simple actions. Once able to jump from exploding buildings, the man now requires assistance to cross a room. Bruce could not even understand why he was walking when he did. Recall those fleeting times when you go into a place and can't recall why you were there. Do you recall how momentarily perplexed you would be? This is not a temporary misunderstanding for Bruce. His development has been disastrous, and he is always in this state. Bruce's brain is fading. Emma told ABC News. She used the word failing rather than declining. What the family had been speculating about for months was confirmed by several sources by October 2025. Bruce can hardly communicate at all these days, sometimes not even a word or two. Bruce's frontotemporal dementia had taken him totally. He is trapped by the illness in a body that still resembles Bruce Willis, but is becoming more and more unapproachable. Is he aware of what is happening to him? Emma acknowledged. She is unable to tell. In an interview that went viral on social media, she stated that it's difficult to tell if he's aware. Take a moment to consider that. She has been married to Bruce for 13 years, and he is the father of her 2 young girls. He knows her just as well as she knows him. He doesn't know who she is, but she now knows who he was. That's not all, though. She is incomprehensible to him. He doesn't know why she is crying, even if he can see it. Imagine the anguish of sitting across from the man you love and not being able to know whether he realizes that his life is falling apart all around him. On some days, he appears. On other days, his gaze focuses on something that only he can see, ignoring her. Medical reality is severe and brutal. In contrast to Alzheimer's, which mostly affects memory, FTD destroys the basic traits that define an individual. Bruce isn't losing sight of his past. He's changing completely, losing the fundamental qualities that define him as a person. By mid-2025, Emma engaged 24-hour care from professionals due to the severity of the ailment. However, this was still insufficient. Emma decided as a result. However, that choice ignited the internet. She and their 2 young children, Mabel and Evelyn, continued to live in the family house when she relocated Bruce into a separate dwelling in August 2025 that had round-the-clock medical support. The reaction was swift and fierce. Accusations flooded social media. Comments about abandonment were made, along with claims that Emma and Bruce's relatives were heartless and just concerned with Bruce's fortune. As they posed the same question, everyone made judgments on Emma and Bruce's family. Does Bruce's family no longer care about him? In real life, as well as on social media, the question went viral among users. Headlines in tabloids implied that the family was getting ready to die. Emma attempted to explain her logic. She desired for her girls to grow up in a normal household, free from the constant shadow of their father's decline. That's what Bruce would have wanted. She was adamant. In order for his daughters to enjoy childhood without the burden of seeing their father's disappearance, he would have wanted them to laugh over dinner with friends. However, the criticism continued. The situation worsened when a June 2025 incident altered fans' perceptions of Bruce Willis's family. Tula Willis, his second eldest daughter from his previous marriage to Demi Moore, shared a picture of Bruce in a vulnerable position on Instagram. He bowed over as if he had no idea. Although the picture was tragic, it appeared to be a private time for a daughter who had come to terms with her father's death. But fans noticed something else as well. Hundreds of them claimed that the image was exploitative. They charged her of exploiting her father's misfortune to get attention, clicks, and significance in a crowded field of influencers. Was she really going to do that? In a heartbreaking video that received millions of views in only 3 days, Tallulah retaliated. She questioned why fans would believe she was taking advantage of her father. She disclosed that she was attempting to demonstrate the disease's effects and help people comprehend the need for additional study, understanding, and compassion. In the video, her voice broke. "My father still exists. He still has me as his daughter, and I'm not going to keep him hidden like he's a bad thing." Tula has consistently expressed the agony of witnessing her father's transformation before anyone realized what was amiss. She disclosed in a moving interview that she had sensed something was wrong long before the diagnosis, but her presumptions were devastating. Tula thought her father had lost interest in her, not that it was a medical problem. She believed Bruce no longer loved her when he became aloof and stopped reacting the way he once did. In retrospect, Tula acknowledges her error and the pain that misunderstanding caused her. Since then, she has made public remarks regarding the significance of talking about these experiences and increasing awareness for dementia-affected families. She's not alone today, and she's closer to her dad than ever. Bruce's ex-wife, Demi Moore, is still involved in his life. She frequently posts pictures of the whole blended family together. Everyone gathered to celebrate Bruce's 70th birthday. Tula posting him might therefore be an attempt to cope with the guilt of first believing he had lost interest in her. The family is in a precarious situation. They are accused of taking advantage of a faded man if they share too much. They are accused of not caring whether they share too little. In July 2025, Emma addressed this head-on by making a long statement urging people to stop passing judgment on things they couldn't possibly comprehend. However, this is what is obscured by all the commotion, disagreements, and criticism. For decades, Bruce Willis provided refuge to individuals such as himself. Celebrities and action stars are not what we mean. Furthermore, we are referring to those who stammered, not those who are in his current state. Bruce made discreet contributions to the stuttering foundation between the 1990s and 2000s, supporting research and therapy initiatives. In interviews, he talked about the difficulties he faced as a child and the everyday humiliation of not being able to pronounce his own name without becoming stuck on the first syllable. He talked about the loneliness and how, in the worst of times, his voice would turn against him. David, his father, a blue-collar mechanic and former soldier, was unsure of how to assist. The man worked hard manufacturing shifts to support his family after surviving World War II. He didn't have emotional availability in his arsenal. Young Bruce so endured much of his suffering alone. Until he discovered acting in high school theater class, he was convinced that something fundamental was broken inside of him. The stammer disappeared on stage. His words flowed smoothly behind a character. He was saved by that change. He gained confidence, a career, and a voice he had never had before. He thus tried to save others in the same manner for the remainder of his life. He provided funding for speech therapy initiatives in underprivileged areas. He filmed PSAs, urging parents to seek early assistance for their children. He joined the Stuttering Foundation as an official spokesperson in 2005, leveraging his notoriety to help destigmatize a disorder that impacts over 3 million Americans. Bruce never forgot the experience of being confined to one's own silence. Where's the help now that Bruce needs it? It's a tragic irony. The unfortunate thing is that Bruce is running out of time. The man who epitomized cinematic resilience and made a name for himself by never giving up is only a passenger on a train headed towards the finish. Perhaps he is the most heinous twist of them all. This particular element adds even more grief to the entire event. His stutter as a child may have hindered the early identification of his dementia. In her August 2025 interview, Emma disclosed this. She didn't give it any thought until Bruce began to struggle with speech in 2020. As a child, he had always stuttering. She thought it was reappearing due to aging or stress. On movie sets, coworkers saw that he was having trouble with lines, but they blamed it on the same thing. His brain was already failing, but no one noticed. Significant harm had already been done by the time aphasia was diagnosed by medical professionals in March 2022. Entire parts of his brain had simply rapidly deteriorated by the time the diagnosis was changed to frontotemporal dementia in February 2023. However, what if they had discovered it sooner? Would it have made a difference? Most likely, or most likely not. Frontotemporal dementia has no known cure. There is no remedy. No drugs that impede its progression. Nothing. Doctors are only able to provide an expiration date. Even so, it's not precise. After diagnosis, FTD usually advances over a period of 7 to 13 years. Bruce was diagnosed in early 2023 according to experts. Do the maths. His family is living within a countdown clock they can't turn off or slow down. It could be the last birthday he remembers. He might not know who is in the room with him for every holiday. So Bruce is heading to his death, and his family is attempting to make his last days meaningful. They have accepted what is going to come, but does that mean they are ready for it? Right now, it's Bruce, but the tragedy might possibly reoccur. What do we mean? Bruce's condition has a genetic component that causes Emma to be up at night. Frontotemporal dementia can be hereditary. Not always, but in 10 to 40% of cases, mutations in specific genes pass from parent to child. Bruce has 5 daughters: Evelyn, Mabel, Scout, Tula, and Rumor, each one potentially harboring a genetic time bomb. Emma has spoken candidly about this, her voice tense with barely contained terror. "I think about the girls constantly," she told a reporter in September 2025. "Do I get them tested? Do I let them live in uncertainty? What if they have it? Even so, what do I tell them?" Mabel and Evelyn are still youngsters. How can you convey to a 13-year-old that she may be witnessing a glimpse of what lies ahead for her? Scientists at the University of Sheffield announced a potential breakthrough in March 2023. The same month, Bruce's family went public with his illness. A nasal spray created by researchers has the potential to stop several types of FTD in mice. Human trials are years away, probably a decade minimum, perhaps in time for his daughters, but too late for Bruce. Perhaps that one word has come to define the family's whole existence. Perhaps when they come to visit, Bruce is aware of their presence. Emma, holding his hand, can make him feel less scared, even though he can no longer form their names. Perhaps the girl's tones evoke some profound recognition. Perhaps the research will pick up speed. Perhaps his daughters won't be hurt. Perhaps, and perhaps. His family's unity is the one small solace in all of this. Demi Moore, his ex-wife, has emerged as an unanticipated source of support. Celebrity watchers find her and Emma's collaboration perplexing, but anyone who has loved someone with dementia will understand it perfectly. Demi attends Bruce's care facility for family dinners. When it comes to medical decisions, she works with Emma. She posts images of herself with their girls, all of them surrounding Bruce in times of forced normalcy. Bruce became a grandfather when rumor Willis gave birth to her daughter Luetta in April 2023. He got to meet the infant. It's uncertain if he realized the significance. In 2024, Tula became engaged. Emma later acknowledged that although Bruce was present for the announcement and appeared to be smiling in pictures, he didn't fully understand what was going on. Although Scout has been the most secretive, family members say she has had a difficult time observing her father's decline. You wouldn't see the Willis family getting ready for Bruce's death in a film. They don't have a farewell monologue or heartfelt music to express their sorrow. Rather, it's a meeting with estate attorneys to make sure Bruce's assets are safeguarded, scheduling memory care rotations so he's never alone, and also not overstimulated. It involves writing down anecdotes about Bruce so that future generations might learn about him. It's sharing pictures, in spite of the criticism, to let people know that he's still alive, still human, and still deserving of respect even though he might never return. The family sees the realities they must deal with, while the public witnesses conflict. Speaking of controversy, did you know that crew members observed Bruce's decline in real time during the 2018-2022 filming? They could see he was having difficulties, but they had no idea what they were witnessing. Nevertheless, they kept casting him in parts. Bruce was unable to retain his lines long enough to deliver a take, so director Randall EMTT later explained that he had to feed them to him through an earpiece. Actress Lala Kent saw twice Bruce misfire a toy gun on the set of Hard Kill in 2020 because he was unable to follow the timing instructions. Some staff members came forward anonymously after the news of aphasia, explaining how they had condensed his vocabulary, simplified his parts, and basically created entire productions around concealing his cognitive impairment. Did they take advantage of him? Perhaps. Or perhaps they were attempting to prolong a dying man's employment since it was all he had left. After his diagnosis was made public, the 2023 movie Assassin became unsettling to watch. Bruce is clearly straining his act. Midway through, his eyes become distracted. He seems to be repeating phrases without understanding them, which gives his line delivery a robotic quality. Those who criticized it for being lazy or who called in were unaware that they were going over the initial phases of dementia. Bruce stops trying to talk by October 2025. When Emma visited him, she said she saw him mouth words, his lips creating noiseless shapes. When those around him fail to recognize his needs, he will gesture at objects in frustration. He occasionally cries, but Emma says she's not sure if that's a sign of mental discomfort or just another sign that his brain is failing and losing control over his bodily reactions. The worst part is that Bruce Willis based his whole persona on his unbreakability. The police officer who refused to die, John Mann. The universe was saved by Corbin Dallas, the cabbie. The oil driller Harry Stamper gave his life to preserve the planet. Each role shouted a single message. Bruce Willis perseveres. Bruce Willis manages to make it out alive. He won't, though, this time. The median survival rate for frontotemporal dementia is 6–8 years after the onset of symptoms. According to crew reports and Emma's timeline, Bruce's symptoms most likely began around 2019 or 2020. In late 2025, that puts him at the age of 5 or 6. The next steps are well defined in the medical literature. Aspiration pneumonia can result from swallowing difficulties, loss of bladder and bowel control, and increasing physical impairment. The majority of FTD sufferers do not pass away from their dementia itself, but from issues that their frail bodies are unable to combat. Emma is aware of everything. She has studied the studies, seen experts, and joined FTD carer support groups, where other spouses have the same haunting expression she sees in the mirror every morning. They share tales of being widowed while still married and the bizarre experience of grieving for a living person. However, the girls are also aware. Demi and Emma make an effort to keep the worst information from them. Recently, Mabel questioned her mother if her father would recognize her upon graduating from high school. Emma was unable to respond. Evelyn fears that she may forget the sound of her father's voice. Emma preserves the sound of him repeating, "I love you," before those words were rendered impossible by playing old films and voice memos repeatedly. This is not a tale of surrender. It's a tale about being present, arriving when your spouse may not be familiar with your name. Knowing that half of the comments will brand you a monster, you nevertheless show up to publish pictures online. Arriving to set up appointments for genetic counseling, financial planning, and care scheduling. Demonstrating to your daughters that love endures even when a person's brain malfunctions. Millions of people learnt what it meant to be a hero from Bruce Willis. He accomplished this through his foundation work and discreet contributions to issues that seldom garnered media attention. Rather than through his films, he demonstrated to others that sometimes being strong means acknowledging your need for assistance. His family is now imparting the same message. They are demonstrating to the world that death preparation does not equate to surrender. It entails loving someone enough to make difficult choices, to withstand criticism from others, and to keep going even when your innermost thoughts want to give out. In September 2025, Emma shared a single paragraph on Instagram that summed up everything. "People inquire about my well-being. Honestly, I'm getting ready to lose my husband while he's still sitting next to me. I'm explaining to our daughters why Daddy doesn't remember their recital. I'm defending our choices to strangers who've never held someone's hand while their mind vanished," she wrote. "And you know what? I'm fine, not great, but okay, because he would do the same for me." The Willis family isn't pleading for sympathy. Instead, they're requesting funding for research, awareness, access to genetic counseling, and support networks for the millions of families who are watching their loved ones slowly disappear. They're asking people to stop treating dementia as a shameful condition that should be kept hidden. As his family prepares for Bruce Willis's impending death, they are also working to prevent others from having to face this journey alone.